In fact, let me just go across to Will Ripley himself and to get a sense of what exactly can be the political implications of this big fight. Will, can you give us a sense of the important credentials of all the three contenders for the top post in Sri Lanka?
With Parliament now in session and this secret vote taking place, it really is anyone's guess which of the two front-running candidates this could be. There are three candidates, mind you. One of them is not considered to be a serious contender, so I'll start with him. He's also the youngest, 53-year-old Anura Kumara. He's a left-wing candidate with support of a couple of different organizations, but again, not considered to be somebody who is likely to become the next president of Sri Lanka. But here are the two front-runners. They're interestingly separated by 10 years, each of them. So the next one I'll mention is 63 years old. This is Dullas Alahaperuma. He is a very colorful guy with a kind of an interesting past. He started out as a tabloid reporter for one of the most extreme tabloids here in Sri Lanka back at that time, and then he rose through the ranks of politics and became a very close ally with the Rajapaksa family, particularly the previous Prime Minister and President Mahinda, who was one of his close allies, but he was also allied with the now former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa as well. And yet when this financial crisis hit Sri Lanka and the country became so deeply mired in debt they couldn't pay off their own creditors, he completely flipped on the family. And now, even though he is a member of the Rajapaksa family's party, he's getting the support of the opposition and a growing number of other people in Parliament, members of Parliament, who might be voting for him secretly today. That's why I say this is really a toss-up, because up until now, it was widely believed that the front-running candidate is the acting president, the former prime minister, a six-time prime minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now, I met him the other day. His specialty area, he claims, is economy. He takes credit for turning around Sri Lanka's economy back in the early 2000s when it collapsed. He has been the prime minister, as I said, 6 times under a number of different administrations, and so he knows how to work with different political factions to get things done. He does have a lot of experience. He is the guy whose house was set on fire in the protests, however, and the guy who many protesters say his leadership they will not accept. His legitimacy they will not accept because they view him as connected to the former president who has stepped down.
Okay, and just for argument's sake, if Ranil Wickremesinghe wins the elections, do you get this sense then that the protesters will be back on the streets and that there's going to be no hope for the nation?
Well, that is the big open question, because I have to tell you, yesterday, on Tuesday, there was supposed to be what was described as a large protest, and they were able to get maybe a few hundred people out there. It wasn't even in the thousands in terms of attendance. You have the acting president basically declaring this state of emergency and deploying heavily armed police and military to guard public institutions across Colombo, and he vowed when I interviewed him that he will not allow any other buildings to be occupied or set on fire, and has authorized the police and military to use whatever means are necessary to protect government infrastructure and also to protect the parliament and allow the parliament to make their selection today, to do their job. And so you see these massive barricades set up outside parliament, but at least as of right now, very few, if any, protesters. Now, will that change? Will people come out in droves and defy the state of emergency, and the restrictions on protesting if Ranil Wickremesinghe is selected? Conversations I've had on the ground here, I'm not so sure. Certainly there are groups that are very, very, very adamant that he should not be the next leader. But I've also talked with a number of people who do acknowledge that he, out of the three, probably has the most experience when it comes to economy and governance, and they're willing to give him a shot. So I can't say with 100% certainty that it's going to be anarchy, as the Inter-Student Federation described it, if Wickremesinghe is selected.
I'm sorry,
but I also
I'm sorry, Will, I really have to interrupt.